Before continue with part 2 of control statement, let's us recall the content covered in part 1. Basically in part 1, we have discussed about the 3 types of control statements, which include 1. Sequential, 2. Selection, and 3. Repetition or loops. However, we only managed to cover until selection. Hopefully you guys still remember these control statement. 1. The sequential control statement basically is a top-to-bottom approach. 2. In the selection control statement, we look at the single selection statement and the bi-selection statement. In the single selection statement, the statement will only be executed if the condition is true. While for the bi-selection statement, both true or false statements are executed accordingly. In part 2, we will concentrate on the multi-selection statement, or normally referred to as nested if-else statement. This video show an example of a multi-selection statement or nested if-else statement. Nested if-else statement is same like if-else statement, when new block of if-else statement is defined in existing if or else block statement. It is normally used when user want to check more than one conditions at a time. Referring to the flowchart shown in the video. Firstly, condition 1 is tested. If false, statement 0 is executed. However, if true, condition 2 is tested. Next, if condition 2 is false, statement 1 will be executed, whilst true will result in another test. That is condition 3. From the testing of condition 3, false condition will result in execution of statement 2, whilst condition true will result in execution of statement 3. This is what the program code looks like for the nested if-else. Referring to the codes, we could summarize that. 1. Statement 3 will only execute if condition 1, condition 2 and condition 3 are true. 2. Statement 2 will only execute if condition 1 and condition 2 are true and condition 3 is false. 3. Statement 1 will only execute if condition 1 is true and condition 2 is false. 4. Statement 0 will only execute if condition 1 is false. Note that, a good practice, if nesting is carried out to too deep a level and indenting is not consistent, then deeply nested if or if-else statements can be confusing to read and interpret. Additionally, it is important to note that an else always belongs to the closest if without an else. This is an example of a flowchart of multi-selection statement of nested if-else. This program is to test the value of x whether it is within the limit or otherwise. If the x value is between the values of minimum and maximum, then it is considered within limits. If x is less than minimum or more than maximum, then it is considered outside the limits. For example, let us assume the minimum and maximum limit is 3 and 9 respectively, and the value of x is 5. If we trace the step of the flowchart, in condition 1, is x greater than mean, where x is 5 and minimum is 3, therefore the condition is true. In condition 2, is x less than max, where x is 5 and maximum is 9, hence the program will display x is within limit. Now let's consider x equal to 11. With minimum and maximum limit is 3 and 9 respectively. In condition 1, is 11 greater than mean? Yes, resulting in condition as true. In condition 2, is 11 less than max? No, hence the program will display x is outside the limit. Now let's consider x equal to 2. With minimum and maximum limit is 3 and 9 respectively. What will the output be? Question. Convert the flowchart to programming codes. This is another example of a nested if-else statement. It is sometimes called if-else if-ladder statement. It is useful especially when we have different test conditions with different statements. 1. Statement 1 will only execute if condition 1 is true. 2. Statement 2 will only execute if condition 1 is false and condition 2 is true. 3. Statement 3 will only execute if condition 1 and condition 2 are false and condition 3 is true. 4. Default statement will only execute if condition 1, condition 2 and condition 3 are false. This program is to test which number is the biggest between three numbers. Assuming variable a, b and c hold the 3 number. The first condition tests whether is it a greater than b. If the first condition is true, we further test whether is a greater than c. If the second condition is true, then a would be the biggest number. This is because a greater than b greater than c. However, if the condition is false, then the biggest value would be c. This is because c greater than a greater than b. However, if during the testing of the first condition is false, the program will continue to check whether is b greater than c. If the third condition is true, then the biggest number is b. This is because b greater than c greater than a. However, if the condition is false, the biggest number is c. This is because c greater than b greater than a. Try the codes and see what happens. Question. Convert the codes to flowchart. This next video show an example of a login checking program. Line 4 and 5 show the declaration of variables and line 6 to 9 show the printing and scanning input from the user. In the first condition, if the user has typed U as a username, then the program control moves to second if condition and checks for the password. If the entered password is 345, then the program will print login successful. Else it will execute statement password is incorrect. Try again. If the first if condition is false, then it will execute last else block statement printing as a name is incorrect. Try again. Try the codes and see what happens. Question. Convert the codes to flowchart. End of part 2. Thank you. Hope the content described here help you to further understand the topic.